Well, how's it going, everybody? And welcome to your January 2021 horoscope. Wow, we made it. If you're watching this, you survived 2020. Well, you know, there's 4 more days, or this will be posted a few days before 2021. So, basically, you survived 2020, though, and you're here. You're probably wondering, okay, what's January gonna look like? January is a pretty fucking crazy month. It really doesn't stop. It's not bad like 2020 was, but 2021 does start off pretty difficulty. Of course, if you guys are here, you guys should know my name is Kim White. Thank you for being here, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. If you are watching this on my YouTube, that means you are watching this pre-recorded. I go live every single month on my Twitch, which you guys could find the link below. And I do these live recordings of the monthly horoscopes. And at the end, I ask for viewers in the audience, I ask for their birth charts to put them up. And we use their charts as an example for going through the horoscope for all of the zodiac signs for the month. This month, of course, is January, and of course, we're in a new year, so we have a lot going on, a whole lot of new shit to talk about. A lot has happened since the last time I did a monthly horoscope, and it's super funny. Last year, I think I'm actually gonna write something about this, or actually make a video about as an astrologer, it was not easy last year doing horoscopes, or I saw so many clients last year. I probably saw at least 200 clients last year, and not every single one was bad, of course, but there was a lot of negativity, right? It was I wasn't motivated to do a lot of these horoscopes because it was hard, but this is probably the first horoscope I am actually motivated and excited to talk about. There's just so much shit going on here in the next couple of, for one, this year, but there's just so much shit going on in January. So, let's go ahead and get started. Now that I got a couple of my live people here, how's it going, guys? Thank you so much for participating. Let me actually, I can turn on your comments too. Hold on. Your comments should come up somewhere. There it is. All right. I'm going to bring this up bigger. So the chat box is up a little bit more now. Anyway, there we go. Yes, I actually do read chats. It's really hard to do everything. Anyway, let's talk about January. As you guys can see, I want you guys to really look at the numbers here. January 4th, January 6th, January 8th, January 9th, January 11th. Whoops. Not a whole lot's going on those first 2 weeks. It's really those last 2 weeks where everything is really going to start hitting. So these first 2 weeks of January are actually pretty boring. Let's go ahead and start with January 4th. Big thing we've got going on January 4th is we've got Mercury conjoining Pluto. So let me open this up by saying we are now in the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. I want to also open this by saying January of 2021 has a lot of pivotal moments. It's really going to be January and February that really sets the kind of theme for the whole year. And there is going to be a lot of crazy shit going on. But again, we just started the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, right? We're in a whole new ballpark. We're in a whole new world. The moist conjunction. I've been trying to tell everyone, this is probably the perfect year. If you've ever had a year where you wanted to do a New Year's resolution, do something different, this is the fucking year to do it. Especially, this is the year to do it. So don't hold back. I'm not, but we get to the first thing, basically, Mercury conjoins Pluto. The only thing you really need to know with Mercury conjoining Pluto is Mercury is kind of like a megaphone, and Pluto would be really bad feedback that's so loud it's deafening. Mercury conjoining Pluto is definitely going to make Pluto a little bit more louder, a little bit more significant. That is what Pluto does. Oh, this got a little bit. There we go. Pluto being about fear, anxiety, power, Mercury on top of it. There can be a lot of heightened anxiety or a lot of heightened fear kind of going on to certain things. With Mercury conjoining Pluto, though, I think you're just going to see that more on a mundane level where you're just seeing, again, a lot of fear being put out, a lot of kind of bad messaging. Pluto is, kind of shit that we already knew, that was already kind of present in our face, that we already kind of knew was there. Mercury just conjoining Pluto is just going to be kind of speaking that message. Not the biggest deal in the world, to be honest. But January 6th and 8th, that's where the ball kind of starts rolling a little bit. Mars enters Taurus starting on January 6th. So this is water, by the way, not a gin and tonic, no. So Mars enters Taurus, right? I don't even know how to explain the difference of feeling it's going to be of going from like Mars in Aries, Mars in its domicile for 6 months. Mars entered Aries in June of 2020, so I think like 10 years ago. Mars entered Aries, and it was doing good until it hit about 15 degrees, because that's when it started to enter shadow, and that's when it started to square Pluto, square Jupiter, square Saturn. Then it went retrograde. Then it squared Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto again, and now it already squared Pluto, and now it's going to square Saturn and Jupiter again. But Mars in domicile for 6 months is a lot. Like that's like playing a game. You know, I think of, for example, I think of professional boxers and professional fighters that can go 12 rounds beating the shit out of each other. You know what I mean? Like that takes some endurance. And that Mars in Aries gives us that endurance, right? When we get to Mars in Taurus, we're not going to have that endurance. I don't want to say we're not going to have that endurance. We're not going to have the endurance added on to the already, enthusiastic, entrepreneurial, excitement that's Mars in Aries. Mars is about action, is about drive, is about our energy, fights, conflicts. And with Mars in Aries, our swords were very, very sharp. And as Mars goes into Taurus, not so much. Mars in Taurus, Mars is in detriment here. So Mars doesn't have all of the tools or resources it needs in order to do its job. A way I like to describe Mars in Taurus is like if Mars is like a knife or like a scythe, Mars in Taurus is like a shovel. Like it's something that like digs in a little bit, and it's not necessarily supposed to, cut things half. It's not supposed to cut things super, super sharp. It's supposed to be a little bit more dull. It's supposed to be a little bit more about kind of digging things underneath, ripping them out. Mars isn't a fixed sign, so Mars Mars is in Aries. Mars was in Aries, so initiating, starting, beginning things. Mars in Taurus, though, is a fixed sign. It's all about consistency. It's all about dragging things out, kind of. You hear a lot of Mars in Taurus, like the stereotypical Mars in Taurus thing is like, oh, they're lazy, or it's easy to get like stuck in a rut. And I think part of that is partly true. But the thing is with Mars and Taurus is like, once you get a cow to start going somewhere, it's hard to change it, right? Like a cow's not like a horse, where a horse is very like maneuverable. A cow is much more, hey, it's going this way, and that's the way it's going. You can't get the cow to run faster. You can't get the cow to do anything. The cow's just walking at its own pace. And so with Mars going into Taurus, there's something frustrating, I think, about having to slow down, especially since Mars is going to be squaring Saturn, and we're just going to be wanting things to go fast. But Mars going into Taurus is, this is kind of burnout, this is kind of going, hey, like, this is like, I'm a little tired. I'm just going to do what's easy. And I'm just going to do, what's going to, let me see if I can move this a little bit. There we go. I'm just going to do what's going to be, easier on me, more consistent. And I think that's going to be really important too, because Mars is going to be now coming up to a square with Saturn and Jupiter, which we're going to get there. There we go. Oh, whoops. So we get to January 8th. Venus moves into Capricorn. Mercury moves into Aquarius, of course, on the same day, because they are on that wavelength. We get to the 8th. Venus moving. Well, let's actually talk about Mercury moving to Aquarius. So Mercury, our mindset, right? Communication, thought, intellect. As it goes into Aquarius, things are going to be opening up. Our ideas are going to be much more fixated on consistency and efficiency, and not so much by, how the guidelines or regulations, like what makes more sense is what's focused on Mercury and Aquarius. Mercury and Aquarius is more open to ideas, but is all about, maintaining a certain ideal. Now, as Mercury does enter Aquarius, though, this is really important because, of course, Mercury is going to be retrograding in Aquarius at the end of this month. So we have Mercury in Aquarius for a while. And this is where I also want to say, with Mercury now joining the party of Jupiter and Saturn, this is where February's themes come into play. So January is like a fake month in my opinion. February, it's like you think things are going on, but it's really February's where things kind of hit the fan. But as Mercury goes into Aquarius, this is kind of like that beginning of, all this Aquarius themes kind of coming up in your life. So look at where Aquarius is at in your chart, and that's where you're really going to start seeing that ball start rolling. Venus goes into Capricorn though, and online, I think you're going to see it like, I don't know. I feel like the shit that you would read online at first, like maybe like cafe astrology stuff, is very like, oh, Venus in Capricorn is boring, or is, girl boss, or something like that. Venus is not necessarily like that. Venus is all about fun, right? And Capricorn's all about rules. And sometimes, like, if Venus likes to play games, Venus and Capricorn likes playing by the games. When we talk about Venus, you guys, I'm a broken record when I talk about Venus and Saturn. Venus rules Libra, which is Saturn's exalted sign. When it comes to like relationships, which is all about Libra, right? It takes that Venusian connection, but also that Saturn restraint and that Saturn, boundary, those healthy boundaries, Saturn being exalted in Libra. Relationships take both, right? And I think with Venus going into Capricorn, Venus can relate a lot more to Saturn here. At least, they've already been on the same page before. But Venus and Capricorn, Venus being about fun, value, rewards, what you enjoy. In Capricorn, that's systems, that's getting things down to business, making a plan. And I think the other thing too is as Venus goes into Capricorn, and we finally get a sweep of Capricorn stuff without, all of the Saturn Pluto. At first, I think Venus coming into Capricorn is going to kind of ease us when it comes to making plans, settling in routines. Venus and Capricorn, again, having fun, playing by the rules, having fun, being on time, being kind of like, extra almost in a sense. So not bad in my opinion. I think Venus and Capricorn will actually be pretty fun. Now, what's the next thing? That's right. So the next day, we have Mercury conjoining Saturn on the 9th as Mercury squares Mars and it'll trine Venus. I think, hold on. Let's see what I meant right there because I'm not sure what I just said. Venus trines Mars, that's right. And Mercury squares Mars as it conjoins Saturn. So, a few things. One, Venus trine Mars. Venus in Capricorn, when you have a system and you are enjoying playing things by the rules, like Mars in Taurus isn't necessarily trying to, go super crazy and go super hard and do all of these extreme things. Mars in Taurus is just trying to find a rhythm. Mars in Taurus is just trying to find the easiest way to do things, less exertion, more enjoyment, getting the most out of it. One thing I really like to talk about with Mars in Taurus too is Mars in Aries is like a swift jab. Mars in Taurus is so much like more of like a momentum, like an inertia that kind of comes. Like there's no real slowing it down. So with Mars in Taurus is like, where have you brought that inertia with you? If you've been watching my videos, I haven't shut the fuck up about the stupid little engine that could analogy. And with that little engine that could, that second time going up that hill, now you go up the hill, you made it up the hill. Well, now you're going to start going down a hill. Now you're going to have a lot of momentum and a lot of inertia carrying you. And you're not going to have to push on the gas so much. That momentum is going to carry you, but you've got to play your cards right, or at least you've got to balance yourself. If you've ever rode a bicycle without a chain, you know that like you kind of will swerve left and right to kind of get the momentum going to kind of carry you forward. That's kind of like Mars and Taurus, right? But Venus and Capricorn trining that Mars and Taurus is like, when you find a system, when you've got a plan, and you're enjoying living by a certain amount of rules, I think this is going to be a good time to take on a lot more discipline in your life. Again, this is a great year for New Year's resolutions, and I think this Venus trine Mars is like, if you think it's fun playing by the rules and actually kind of taking things seriously, that Mars and Taurus inertia, that momentum can really be helpful. And Mercury's conjoining Saturn here. Mercury is holding up the megaphone to Saturn saying, hey, Saturn, what do you want to say? And Saturn is in Aquarius. This is where I think we're going to start really seeing, again, that Saturn Aquarius theme play out. What happened the last time? We had, social distancing go into effect. We had all the protests. We had all of this, Aquarius type stuff. Of course, it was Mars-Saturn at first, so it was a little bit more negative. I think with Mercury and Saturn on this time, I think this is where we're going to start seeing a lot more of the issues, right? Saturn is the greater malefic. It is going to be problematic. Like, that's just Saturn. I know we all want to worship Saturn. and we all want to love Saturn, but it's just not realistic. Saturn is the greater malefic. It is, there's respect involved, but it's not that great. And I think Mercury conjoining Saturn, we're going to start really seeing, I think, some of the problems, seeing some of the divides that I think you're going to start seeing. Saturn Aquarius, it's like, a fixed sign is getting settled. We're going to start seeing how things are going to be going for the next couple years. And as Mercury conjoins Saturn, this is going to be a good time to communicate your seriousness. If you want to be tactful about something, if you want to, just if you're wanting to communicate a serious message, if you're wanting to sign a contract, maybe that would be good. I just think only though with Mercury squaring Mars, again, this is the way that things are going. That's the Aquarius stuff, right? But Mars squaring it, and Taurus is like, I think of what's that show? I think it's Beyond Scared Straight. I'm not even sure what show I'm thinking of, but there's definitely a show where it's like, they have let's say like Beyond Scared Straight. They'll have like some kids in jail, and then like the kid's like, oh, I don't want to do this or I don't want to do that, and the person's like, well, that's too damn bad, it's gonna happen anyway. Like that Mars and Taurus is definitely kind of like throwing a fit, not wanting to like get out of its comfort zone in order to do this new thing. And I think Mercury conjoining Saturn is kind of like that drill sergeant in your ear that's kind of like, hey, I know you don't want to, like, hey, I know you don't want to be at boot camp, but you need to get your ass up and do push-ups. That's kind of what it is. And I think that's going to be, shitty, but also good, We get to the 11th though, on January 11th, and this is when we're going to be having Mercury conjoin Jupiter. Love this day. Absolutely love it. Mwah. This is one of my days I wrote down for elections. Mercury conjoining Jupiter. Now that we know what the issues are, Mercury conjoining Jupiter. What's the opportunity though? Like, what's the newness? What's the system? How are we integrating all of this? Like, Mercury conjoining Jupiter is like, if you are a big, I feel like Mercury conjoining Jupiter is like if you're an Apple fan, like the Apple Day, or if you're a Disney Marvel fan, hopefully you're not, but when they did the announcement of all the movies that they're going to come out with, like Mercury conjoining Jupiter is like, hey, here's the new, like this is what you get. This is like when your favorite band releases, like saying like, oh, we're going to come out with an album soon. And it's squaring Uranus too. So we're going to get exactly to those Uranus squares, but I just want to mention that this good thing might be, it's kind of like Uranus and Taurus is kind of like maybe a certain innovation or a certain uncertainty is a certain variable in your equation is very unstable, and you're really trying to do this new thing, but this thing's kind of getting in the way. But let's just talk about specifically Mercury conjoining Jupiter. This is positive. This is a good message. But it's squaring Uranus. Everything is squaring Uranus in January. Everything's squaring Uranus for the next 2 months. I don't want to waste my breath saying expect unexpected events and blah, 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 blah. I'll talk more in depth about it. But what I want to say here is that like all this Aquarius stuff is coming with, like it comes with the, when you try to implement something new and you try to make change, things are going to go wrong. Uranus and Taurus, right? Taurus being that stable ground we're so used to. Uranus being, both, yeah, there's liberation, there's ingenuity, but there's also instability here. So it's like, Saturn and all this Aquarius stuff, we're trying to do all this new stuff, but on unstable ground. So it's going to be kind of a, sticky situation to say the least. We get to January 12th, Mercury squares Uranus. We have the new moon in Capricorn. Boom. Mercury goes through, it squares Uranus. This is the new moon in Capricorn. Mercury squaring Uranus is very, it's very headache. It's very Mercury in Aquarius, has this whole elaborate scheme set out, has everything that it wants to do, but it's relying on Uranus and Taurus, or at least Uranus and Taurus is like the stable ground, right? Uranus being about liberation, freedom, ingenuity, and Taurus, the sign that's grounded, talking about value, talking about stability, security, possession. It's an earth sign, so we're literally talking about tangible items. Anything is tangible when it comes to the earth signs, but with Taurus, I like to think of earth. With like Virgo tangibility, I like to think of like plants Plants change, and so do mutable signs. Dirt really doesn't change, and that's a very fixed sign. And Capricorn, I like to think of it as like, rocks, concrete. You think about, rocks and concrete, or you think about just in concrete. We're literally heating up limestone and to smolder it into something that's like more manufactured hard and more manufactured earth. Very much Capricorn. So when you talk about Taurus, we're talking more about soil, dirt, it's ground, it's earth, it's where it is. Uranus, think of it in San Francisco, half, like, all of their streets are like starting to sink over there, and they have a lot of issues with their footing. Uranus and Taurus thing, Florida has a lot of sinkholes too. I feel like Uranus is in Taurus is like trying to build a whole new city on soil that really isn't all that solid. And so again, if you're doing something that's so crazy, like there's going to be problems with it, expect the issues. That's all I'm trying to say here. Expect the issues. Mercury squaring Uranus is that message that you're trying to put out, or that message Mercury's trying to say in Aquarius might run into some issues that you didn't see coming, or that really, I don't think it's going to be earthquakes, actually. Earthquakes, I do think, are going to come in March of next year, though, but I'll talk more about that later. Anyway, we got to move forward. Mercury squaring Uranus, that's just the one thing that's squaring Uranus. So, also, new moon in Capricorn. That's what I meant to add. This new moon in Capricorn, I think, is going to be really funny, because it's kind of like we get to finally clear out all of that Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter stuff that we had last year. If you look at this new moon, it's literally at 23 degrees Capricorn, right where that Saturn Pluto conjunction was, right where literally everything was last year. So this really, to me, in my opinion, looks like a really big, just ending it, just bringing some closure to all of that shit. Just, okay, that was then, and this is now. We're moving forward. We're moving beyond. Nothing. I think that would also be a good time too to like, because one thing I wanted to kind of mention with this horoscope is, like last year was fucked. Like, we all have like a lot of collective grieving to go through, and as someone who has gone through a lot of grief, let me tell you, it's really easy to not like to even be aware that you're grieving. Like, it's easy to just go throughout your day and not even realize that like that's how you feel. Like, grief is a really weird thing. And so I think this new moon in Capricorn can be a really good kind of opportunity to kind of just like sweep. It's kind of like sweeping your garage. You don't need to sweep your garage. It's your garage. Who gives a shit? But sweeping it, allows that freshness in an environment that doesn't necessarily need it, but could use it. We talk about the next thing, January 13th, Venus trines Uranus, Sun conjoins Pluto, Mars squares Saturn. So this is kind of a lot, but break it down one thing at a time. Venus trines Uranus. This, I think you're going to see more mundane. Again, I think this is just going to be something cool, but I think on a more personal level, Venus and Capricorn, enjoying the rules, playing by the game, having a system, having, a routine. Trining Uranus, when you get into a system and you kind of finagle things a little bit, there's some innovation that, you might learn something, you might understand something better because you've been doing it through a system now. I feel like Venus trining Uranus is like, once you kind of get the system, the routine down, you start understanding it better, you can tinker it and do it your own way, and, you become more innovative, and in those innovations, you become more creative. I think that's what Venus trining Uranus is, like, innovation through creativity. Now, Sun is also going to conjoin Pluto. What's funny about this is just like it's just the Sun and Pluto now. No Saturn. The last time Saturn was not in Capricorn was when in January will we overthrow the U.S. government. That's not this January. But as the Sun conjoins Pluto, this is kind of, again, kind of some anxiety, kind of some fear. Sun on Pluto, we're kind of resetting all of that Pluto and Capricorn energy for the next year to come, because now we're about to go through Pluto, America's Pluto return. All right. Now, Mars square Saturn, that's right. I was like, what was the next thing? Because there's so much at this point I'm going to get lost here. So Mars square Saturn. I don't even want to talk. I don't want to say I don't want to talk about the Mars square Saturn. It's just like Mars squaring Saturn is just like, there's certain things that you can stop and there's certain things you can't stop. Saturn's in the superior position in this one. So Saturn again is the rules. It's got to make sense. It's got to be serious. It's an Aquarius. It's got to work for everybody. We can't be changing the rules. We have to act collectively. Mars and Taurus, just because you don't like Mars and Taurus is so wanting to take things really slow, not really go that fast. But Mars squaring Saturn is like, Saturn's like, okay, well, if you don't go fast right now, like you'll be left behind. and Mars squaring Saturn too is like, even though this is hard, because again, I like to think of Saturn in Capricorn, right, squaring Mars and Aries last year was like all of this weight and pressure. Like someone like I think of like a guy who like a heavy weightlifting person, weightlifter. I can't think of. I'm not good with my words today. When they're doing bench presses, right? You got all that weight on you, all that pressure. But Mars and Aries is like that aggression to like want to max out your reps, that aggression to really finish your set. Saturn in Aquarius squaring Mars in Taurus is very like, okay, it's not so much about like the initial like force or that energy. It's about like, are you just going to be able to get up and do it? It's much more mental, not so much more like constraint and defined. It's much more Mars and Taurus, like, all right, yeah, sure, you might be a little bit tired, you might be drained, but are you still going to do it? And with Saturn and Aquarius, what are you going to tell yourself to get over those humps? Saturn and Aquarius is what mindset or intellectual beliefs not intellectual beliefs, what ideas limit you, and where do they stop you? And I think with Mars and Taurus, it's going to be kind of easy to convince yourself, that you're not going fast enough, or it's going to be easy to convince yourself that, you can't push hard enough. Like Mars and Taurus squaring Saturn and Aquarius is like, you try to like shove someone, you don't even try, you just barely shove someone, and you're like, see, I can't push them down, but you don't even try. Like, I think it's going to feel like a failure, but it's not going to feel like you tried to fail. It's going to feel like you're like, okay, like if you give something half-ass energy, you're going to get a half-ass result. And I think in contrast with Mars and Aries, when it's like you gave it your all, like you got a lot of it. But with Mars and Taurus squaring Saturn and Aries, it's like you got to find the consistency. You got to find the drive. Mars and Taurus is like, it's not about going fast. It's not about going hard and just fucking doing it. Mars and Taurus is like, think of a camel. Camels don't run. They don't need to run. They just walk through the desert. Yeah, they got a ton of water on deck, and they're able to keep that, with them, sustain that, and it helps them get through that long journey. That's really Mars and Taurus. Like, you're not going to go through this fast. It's not going to be an overnight process. And it is going to be something that's so much more about the consistency, even when you don't want to. Mars and Aries was easy. Mars and Aries was fucking easy. It was Mars and domicile. That habit building energy. Thank you. Now, next thing that we've got going on, Mercury enters shadow. So, I know, we already get to the first Mercury retrograde of 2021, and that's on January 15th. As you can see, Mercury's at 12 degrees. The Mercury shadow phase doesn't bother me at all. I think what's cool is when Mercury stations direct in February, Mercury actually stations direct on top of Venus and on top of Jupiter. So this is a really good Mercury retrograde. But as Mercury enters shadow, this is where you're going to want to start seeing, start paying attention a little bit more. Where's Aquarius in your chart? What are you doing there? And, what's coming up? Because you're going to have to come back over that again. Mercury retrogrades are a time to reflect, a time to review, a time to go over things again. And so as Mercury enters shadow, one thing I've been trying to tell people is there's so much shit going into Aquarius that it's going to be kind of overwhelming. This is going to be kind of a lot, right? Also squaring Uranus, like a lot of unpredictability. This Mercury retrograde is really going to give us that time to really go over things again, right? But as Mercury enters shadow, this is where you're going to start seeing, everything starts now of what you're going to end up going over again. Then we get to, that's January 15th. And then 4 days later, after 4 days, really nothing happens. And then it's like this week, this is when shit goes down. Wow, we're only 30 minutes into this live. Dang. Okay. January 19th, Sun enters Aquarius. Whoop-de-doo. Sun enters fall, or Sun enters detriment. Yeah, we don't really, we as in me and you guys, more like me, because it's just me talking here. I don't talk about the Sun in Aquarius much when I talk about just the Sun being a detriment, right? If you want to know my ideas about the Sun, by the way, I don't think I've actually told my YouTube crowd, which this is for my YouTube crowd. If you're watching this on Discord, or not Discord, on Twitch, you probably already know. If you know Kira Taborn on the astrology show, you should check out her podcast. I do an episode with her talking all about the Sun, which you guys should listen to if you want to know a little bit more about my ideas of the Sun, I guess. But with the Sun going into Aquarius, the Sun is going into its detriment here. So when we talk about solar qualities, about, putting yourself out there, feeling courageous, feeling, independent, feeling yourself, and, when you are yourself too, you bring in that magnetism that the Sun creates, right? Like the things do revolve around you. When the Sun's in detriment, it's the night is longer than dark, or the night is longer than dark. Night is longer than day. And at least in the northern horizon, the Sun is very far down. The Sun doesn't like being in Aquarius. It's cold, it's dark, and as the Sun's in Aquarius, there's this kind of disconnect, right? The Sun in Aquarius is like, just keep your head down, do your thing. Yes, I think Aquarius has a lot to do with the ideas of community, but I think we all conflate the idea of Aquarius and community with the 12-letter alphabet too much, which is, the Aries and Mars rule the first house, which I don't use that. Aquarius is so much more about, I always like to say, everybody else. It's the crowd, right? In the crowd, when you think of a comedian or at a show, right? You hear someone booing in the crowd. You don't know who that is. There's this anonymity to the crowd. When you talk about Aquarius, there's this being able to get lost in the crowd, not being able to detach. Leo is in the light. Leo is very seen. Aquarius is not seen. Aquarius is the background stuff. And, yes, there's an idea of community, but it doesn't necessarily mean community at all. It doesn't mean bigger. There's this bigger group of people focused to it because there's usually, it's not just an individual. But with the Sun in Aquarius, there's this individual aspect of going disconnecting, withdrawing, being out from the light. And I think this time's a little bit more different. Sun is there, Jupiter's there, Saturn's there, Mercury's there. There's other stuff that we've got going on that's going to take our attention away. We're going to want to do this. The Sun in Aquarius is so much more like, taking like a little break. I think with the Sun in Aquarius, this is rather than being the star of the show, Sun in Leo, be in the back, do some, work in your background. And I think too, this is just going to be very, this is going to be also kind of, again, more of the beginning of January, the beginning of this Aquarius season. Like, again, a lot of January is just about how long it takes all the planets to get into Aquarius. Because that's really the main highlight of February is everything in Aquarius. But then we get to the next day, and that is January 20th, and Mars conjoins Uranus. Not to mention the moon is also there, and it's all squaring Saturn. So for a lot of people, this is going to be no bueno. This is not going to be fun for a lot of people. For a lot of other people, this might not be that bad. But this is definitely not a fun day, in my opinion. Mars on top of Uranus, that's a lot of unpredictability. That's a lot of insecurity. That's a lot of vulnerability. That's a lot of, Mars in Taurus is so, like, it's hard to keep that momentum when you don't know what's next. And I think Mars squaring Saturn it's going to be easy to psych yourself out. And I think Mars on top of Uranus too is when you don't plan ahead, or when you are just kind of banking on your momentum, like anything can happen. Like it's kind of like if you live in the mountains, like Utah or Colorado, especially Colorado, on the 70, you see them all the time, the runaway truck ramps. And those runaway truck ramps are crazy. Mars on top of Uranus is like if you're that big truck, you're going down that hill and you didn't check your brakes, that Mars and Taurus square Saturn and Aquarius, like that's a brake check. And I don't think your brakes are necessarily going to fail, but I think you're going to go, uh-oh. And I think you're going to start driving a little bit more cautiously. And I think as Mars conjoins Uranus, there's a lot of unpredictability. There's a lot of vulnerability. It's things can kind of explode really quick. Mars and Taurus too is so, like Mars Taurus on Uranus is so like, it's not like intense, everything's happening in your face. It's Mars and Taurus is slow and steady, right? Conjoining Uranus is like this grinding underneath. I would almost like to say it's like a landslide. If you've ever watched videos of landslides, actually, there was this one video I just watched not that long ago. It was like last year. I think it was like right when COVID happened, so it didn't make the news. But like half of this mountain in like I think it was like Israel or something like that, like slid off. Like it was the craziest video I've ever seen. But Mars on top of Uranus, there's something kind of exploding, something kind of not inauguration day yet. I thought inauguration day was on the 24th. Is it on the 24th or is it on the 20th? Someone remind me, because I know inauguration day is one of them, and I know inauguration days. I don't even want to talk about inauguration day. So Mars conjoining Uranus. Look, of course, where Taurus is at in your chart. Shouldn't surprise you there. Venus will sextile Neptune next. We get to January 23rd. Venus will sextile Neptune, and the Sun will conjoin Saturn. So, 1, 2, 3. So Venus sextiling Neptune. Sweet. Oh, okay. So it is January 20th. So inauguration day is the 20th. That's what I thought. Inauguration day. Expect to pop off. I don't want to make a prediction on here. If you've gotten a reading from me, or if you follow me on Twitter, if you know me, like I've already talked a lot about this, but I personally think Joe Biden is. I would be blown away if Joe Biden made it past February. I'd be blown away if he made it past February, and I'd be blown away if Trump just leaves office very easily. But I very much think Kamala Harris will probably end up being the first female president of the United States very quickly. None of this looks very promising for that kind of stuff. But anyway, what I want to talk about is, what's this fucking day? What day are we on? Shit, January 23rd. Sun-Saturn day. Sun-Saturn Kazemi. So this is, in my opinion, one of the more important days of January, because this is really setting the stage for what Saturn and Aquarius is going to be like. Kamala's in the chat. With the Sun on top of Saturn, with now Saturn and Aquarius, there's this new introduction of what is, problematic. Where are the hard limits? Where are the hard no's? Again, we all like to pretend Saturn is amazing, but for a lot of people, Saturn really sucks, and I think Saturn is going to cause a lot of issues. But when the Sun conjoins Saturn, this is when the issues make themselves known. This is like, the games begin now. Like Mercury conjoining Saturn was like, here you go, here's the list of rules you've got to live by, and then they start now. Sun conjoining Saturn is like, here's how it's going to go. And this is also like really anchoring in a lot of like personal energy. This is really getting yourself centered with this new Aquarius stuff. So of course, look where Aquarius is at in your chart. We were talking about Mars. There we go. Then we get to January 25th. Now, what's weird about January 25th is this is when the nodes square Neptune. To be honest with you, I don't even fucking know. I don't even know. What? Like, I was looking at this and I'm like, this is so like, if you guys, again, if I talked about magic a couple weeks ago, because I just think spiritual magic, like spells and shit, that's cool, right? I do that shit, but I'm talking about like card magic, like sleight of hand magic. I love that shit. I don't know why. I just think it's so, I don't know, fascinating. Neptune squaring the nodes seems so much more of like a sleight of hand trick. Like all of this stuff's going on in Aquarius, all this stuff's going on everywhere, and then simultaneously Neptune squaring the nodes, where it's like when you're not paying attention, you know, something goes up the sleeve, something, you know, goes underneath the hand, something, you know, deceptive kind of happens. And as Neptune squares the nodes, I think there's also this both this confusion, yet this also kind of like faith and clarity, I guess, as far as direction to kind of go in. Because when you have a planet in between the nodes, right, it's kind of like that equilibrium state of being able to see, okay, here and here, being able to switch from here going into there. I think Neptune being in the middle, kind of blurring those lines, I think it kind of makes it easier to see both sides a little bit. But I also think it kind of makes it more difficult to, because the nodes, right, they pull you in two different directions. I think Neptune in the middle going is like, which direction am I being pulled in more right now? And so I just wanted to bring this up, that I think this is going to be more important, like when you reflect, like when you look back on 2021, when we get to like this time next year, you'll look at Neptune squaring the nodes and be like, oh shit, like that was a thing for me. And the Sun squares Mars. So Sun square Mars. Oh, let me turn this off. So what I usually like to talk about when it comes to Mars retrogrades and oh, that said on the 25th. Did I get that wrong? Hold up. I did get that wrong. What the fuck? Does Mars not square? Oh, that's not until February 1st. Oh my god. What was I looking at? Hold on. What did I put? Sun square Mars on January 25th. Yeah, I put that on January 25th. Okay. Sorry, I'm just realizing I was wrong. Okay. So the Sun doesn't square Mars on January 25th. That's okay though. But when we get to January 28th, Venus will conjoin Pluto, the Sun will conjoin Jupiter, the full moon in Leo will be squaring Mars, and this is really where we get to the kind of the crazy part. January 28th, like look at this. Yeah, Venus is on top of Pluto, which Venus on top of Pluto in Capricorn is like when you don't. Venus and Capricorn on top of Pluto is like when you're like, let's say you're in middle school and you're a goody two shoes and one of your friends is like doing something bad and you're like don't do that, like that's against the rules. And like Venus on top of Capricorn is on top of Pluto is like in anxiety induced fear around like, oh, you know, not playing fairly or things not happening the way that they're supposed to. But on the 28th, what I want you guys to look at is this kick-ass full moon. I've been looking at this full moon since like July of last year. I love it. It's on the Sun-Jupiter Cazimi. Like literally on it. The only problem is it is squaring Mars and Uranus. So the Sun-Saturn Cazimi that we had just a few days before this was like, all right, the games begin. These are the new rules. This is the new problem. This is what you got to take responsibility over. Go. Sun conjoined Jupiter is, this is where you can have faith. This is what can open up doors. This is what you can believe in. This is where you can find abundance and opportunity. Plus, this is a full moon. So the one thing, too, that I want to mention is, this is a full moon in Leo, right? So this moon, our emotions, it's lighting up the nighttime, the dark. This isn't hot, fiery moon. This is, you know, keeping that flame alive in the cold of winter. And what's interesting is that this is also a full moon opposite Jupiter, or on top of Jupiter. So you can look at it as like, I think with the Sun and Jupiter Cazimi, there's this inspiration to like, okay, I know what's ahead. I know what opportunities I have. I know where I can put my faith in. This moon in Leo, this full moon in Leo is, you know, igniting that kind of like, all right, what what level of my energy do I have to, what flame do I have to keep in the dark to kind of get through this cold, long night, essentially. But it's squaring Mars and Taurus. Like, I think of this as like, I'm going to get the card wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Five of Swords, where it's the guy swimming, moving on with the girl, or the whoever actually. I think it's the five. Hold on, I'm just gonna Google it because it's gonna. Five of Swords. No, okay, maybe it's the Six of Swords. Six of Swords. That's okay. So this is very Six of Swords energy. Being able to Mars and Taurus, right? We got a long road ahead. It's not going to be easy. You know, it's still squaring Saturn and Jupiter, all that stuff. But as that full moon in Leo happens, it's kind of like realizing what's on the other side. It's kind of like having hope, like knowing that there's something more out there, but just knowing that it's also a rough journey on the way. Like you're remembering why you set out on the journey. It's about remembering your why, essentially. I just think as it's squaring Mars in the middle, you just can't give up. Like, that's the problem with Mars and Taurus, is that it's just going to be easy to give up. It's going to be easy to, hit a lot of challenges. When I talk about the Sun square Mars, I know that's not technically happening yet, but as this is kind of happening at the same time, I like to think of, when we talk about Mars retrogrades and Mars' synod, the hero's journey. And one of my favorite examples of the hero's journey is the movie The Incredibles, because they actually do it really well. And so if the Mars retrograde journey is the hero's journey, and we're going to analogize it to The Incredibles, the Mars retrograde in Aries was like the climax in The Incredibles, right? And then Mars station direct. We had those eclipses in Sagittarius. This is that scene in The Incredibles, which if you haven't watched The Incredibles, I'm sorry, I am a Gen Z. I'm going to just refer to movies that only I know. But that scene where they're like on their way home and they're like on the car and they're all sharing their stories. It was very like December, right? And then we get to the Mars Sun square. This is the third, and this is the closing Mars Sun square. Now the Sun will only start getting closer to Mars and will eventually conjoin Mars. But as we have this closing square, this is just like that scene in Incredibles where they leave the car, they get home, and Syndrome has the baby. Sun square Mars. One last final conflict before the film actually ends. And it's not supposed to be some long drawn out conflict. It's just one last thing before you go. And in that movie too, they handle the conflict really well. They, go through it. It's quick. Put out the fire quickly. As the Sun squares Mars, as we get to January, think back to when the Sun squared Mars back in. This would have been in May. Mars was in Pisces. And this would have been our first initial conflict, our challenge. And then that's when Mars retrograded over the summer, where we dealt with the climax of those challenges. And now we have our third and final challenge. And that's this Mars and Taurus squaring Saturn Aquarius. It's like, hey, are you going to keep fighting or not? Because I know you're tired. Mars and Taurus is very much like, are you going to or not? Because we get it. We're all tired too. But I think there's every reason to maybe not do something this year. Don't get me wrong. When let me reiterate what I said. I opened up this video by saying, this is a good year to set do New Year's resolutions or whatever. You don't have to do anything. This is a shitty year. There's a lot of grief. And, when you are dealing with grief, like it's all I did last year. Like all I did last year was grieve. I didn't do really anything new. So don't feel like you have to do anything new, like you're going to waste it. I think, too, with Mars and Taurus, it's going to be easy to not want to do much. It's going to be easy to also, it's going to be easy to want to be lazy. I think it's going to actually be difficult to be lazy, because while Mars and Taurus wants to do it, it's also squaring everything in Aquarius. We just don't have the time. However, I just think for the people that are trying to take the initiative, do something different for this year for themselves, this is really about just remaining strong, like, mind over matter type energy right here. No matter how exhausted or tired you are, like, you just got to have the mindset that's going to get you over it. Because that's the other thing too, is this is Saturn in air sign. Saturn in Capricorn was like, like what is your creed? Like, are you about what you do? What are you creating, right? Saturn at air sign is like, are you about what you say? Like, do you live by that creed? Like, do you live by your own oath? Do you believe what you say? And do you, are you strong in your own ideas? Do you have a strong mindset? Are you disciplined in your own self-talk? I think just Saturn and Aquarius it's going to be difficult at first because we're so used to, I feel like the self-deprecating thing is going to get kind of old with Saturn and Aquarius, only because it was easy with Saturn and Capricorn, right? Capricorn's like, you're not good enough, silly. Like, just get rich. Like, that's what's that Paris Hilton t-shirt that's like, just make more money, stop being poor. So Saturn and Capricorn is very like mean, but Saturn and Aquarius, it's like, like you can't just beat yourself up anymore. Like, that just doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work to be hard on yourself. It doesn't work to be mad at yourself. Like, what's fun about Saturn and Aquarius is like asking yourself like what actually works, because it's not about what's right or what's wrong. It's about what is going to work and what's going to get the job done, even if it goes against the old stuff too. Because when you talk about I guess well, I need to move on too. Saturn, we get to the Sun Jupiter Cazimi, right? This is looking really good. Loving this. Squaring Mars, yeah, we have that issue. But then we get to January 30th, and that's when we have Mercury stationing retrograde. Again, this is the first retrograde of the year. As Mercury stations, like I said before, this is really allowing us time to go over everything, reevaluate, reexamine, really, take a moment and like take a deep breath in about everything. This is definitely going to be reviewing. I think also look here too, Venus is just about to enter Aquarius. And then once we get to February 10th, we'll have the new moon in Aquarius. So there'll be like the sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, Saturn, Jupiter. It's going to be a little Aquarius party. And I think this Mercury retrograde is going to be kind of like, okay, now that things are actually happening, there's like, so being in the wedding industry is so funny. Cause literally every girl thinks they know exactly how it's going to go. And then I get to be the one to be like, it's not going to go like that at all. And Mercury, I think Mercury retrograde in Aquarius too. It's like for a wedding, brides, I was a wedding DJ, by the way. I've like DJ'd like 300 weddings. I did this all the time. So brides always have this like, oh, my wedding's going to be perfect. And it's going to be this and this and this and that. And, they have no idea what kind of planning or money it takes to do all that kind of stuff. This Mercury retrograde in Aquarius is like, you have your perfect wedding day idea, but then you have reality. And like, what are you happy with? What will actually work for you? Don't get me wrong, you can live an ideal life, and if you can have the perfect wedding if you really want it, and sure, it could possibly happen, but realistically, what is your priorities? What are your goals? The same thing if you're buying a house. What is a realtor going to tell you? They're gonna ask you the same questions, like, your dream house, it doesn't exist, like, but what are the priorities? How can you prioritize? What is important to you? And I think with Mercury retrograde in Aquarius, with all this Saturn Jupiter stuff, it's like, we get excited, for example, like let's say we're getting married and we get really excited to talk about everything that's going on, and that's all this Aquarius stuff. And then Mercury retrogrades, and we start figuring out how much like a venue is and all the alcohol and invites and the price tag of everything. And Mercury retrogrades like, well, before we just jump into it, let's actually do the math. Let's investigate. Let's find something else out. There's just going to be a lot of curiosity and a lot of questioning here. All good stuff. It's all air sign stuff. It's all learning, right? This is all a learning experience. And this isn't so much like Capricorn. Capricorn was like learning through like physical labor. Like Aquarius is like actual learning just from like just being told the knowledge. Like you don't have to have the street experience. And just Mercury retrograding, rethinking, re-strategizing, reviewing, going over all this stuff again. And like I said, this is how we go into February. February is kind of crazy. February we have, Venus coming into the mix. Venus will conjoin Saturn. Venus will conjoin Jupiter. Venus won't conjoin the Sun. Mercury will retrograde back and retrograde and station direct on top of Jupiter and Venus. We still got the Mars squares to deal with. It's kind of a lot. But with that being said, I think that's January. I think it's time to pull up birth charts. Are you guys ready? Should I tell you guys to give me your birth info? There we go. I like how you guys were ready. Y'all ready. I love this. Yes, I love it. You guys are ready. Just like that. You guys already had that shit typed out, copy and pasted, didn't you? All right. Cheris Marie, Leo Rising. We're going to do you first because I did see you post that earlier. So again, for my YouTube folks, what we're doing now is we're going to go over January 2021 for each rising sign, but we're going to do it by using audience members' charts to for examples and to look at theirs. So if you want me to ever look at your chart like this, make sure you fucking show up to my lives. But I also am really bad at scheduling lives. If you follow me, you just wait for the notification. And that's why I love you guys, because I don't have to plan things with you and you're just there. In Chillicothe, what the fuck is a Chillicothe? A Chillicothe, Ohio. There we go. All right, Leo Rising. What's going on for Leo Risings? Ooh, okay. Damn, nice. What's up? Love this chart. That moon in Sag, trine Venus, Mars sextile Venus. What's up? Hi. So Leo Risings, the big thing. Saturn and Jupiter in your 7th now. Relationships. What do they look like? How are you being seen? Because Jupiter's going to be opposite your ascendant, so you're going to be seen in the best way, and Saturn's going to be on your descendant. You're going to be seen in the worst way. You're going to be very uplifted and also put on the spot and also being held very accountable. That's going to be mostly the big thing with all of this Aquarius stuff. And Mars is going to be in your 10th house. You're going to be dealing with fights and conflicts with superiors, with your boss, with people that you work with, or people that are, just in your work in general. Especially for you too, because Mars is going to be squaring your Mercury and your Venus, and Saturn's also going to be opposite your Venus, Sun, and your Mercury too. So this is especially for you because you got all of this stuff in Leo in your 1st house. So this is very much like, if you're going to give your best, this would be the time to give your best performance because you have quite a big of an audience. Next up, we're going to have Astro Gem 82, and this is for my Gemini Risings. There is some fighting, I think, going on outside. Oh, whoops. I do this every single time. Astro Gem 2. June 1982. I should have guessed that one. 5:49 a.m. Tyler, Texas. So Gemini Risings. Nice. Okay, you were born during that Saturn-Pluto conjunction. Man, last year wasn't fun. So for the Gemini Risings, the big thing is Saturn and Jupiter's now in your 9th house. So this is all about learning, higher education, college, far distance travel. I doubt a lot of you will actually be doing that now. You might be doing that in a year or two. But really, this is all about taking on more responsibility with your beliefs. Maybe even gaining some teachers. Like I would not like Gemini Risings. You're going to gain some type of teacher in some form or another. Look for an old person to teach you something. Learn something more. Publish something. This would be a good time to start a business too, especially if you have the midheaven like this person in Aquarius. Start a business this year. Just take your shit seriously. And for you, because you're you're a day chart. And Saturn's shining your Saturn. This is going to be very constructive. Your beliefs, your education, your experiences are really going to harmoniously, benefit your, sense of self, and as well as your Mars and Saturn, like, your discipline and your capability of doing things. Yeah, Gemini Risings, a lot better than last year. Well, Gemini Risings had all that Saturn-Pluto stuff going through your 8th house, so that wasn't really fun. Everything's moving out of your 8th house, moving into your 9th house. So it's much less about trauma and more about learning, spiritual breakthrough type stuff. But with Uranus and Mars in your 12th, expect hidden enemies to come up. Like Mars in the 12th is like, you're going to want to isolate yourself. You're going to want to alienate yourself. You're going to want to hide away. So that could be healthy, and that could also not be healthy depending on the type of person you are. Let's go to our next person. AZ Angel, Sag Rising, Arizona, what's up? I have an Arizona ID. The other day, I went to, I was getting my tires done, and I have Arizona plates, but I have like a California ID or a California 7:40 p.m. a California address, and at the tire shop guy had my old address in Colorado, and this dude was like, "What the fuck? Where are you from?" And I was like, "I'm from everywhere, dog." Mesa, Arizona. Let's see what's going on. So Sag Rising. So, of course, I get to be a Sag Rising too. So this is also about me. Look at all that fire and that air, just like me too. So for the Sag Risings, I was just talking to. Do you guys follow? If you're on Twitter, you guys should follow Cameron. Oh, of course, I can't fucking remember this fool's last name right now. CA Dreamer. Cameron Allen. Yeah, CA Dream 7 on Twitter. CA Dream 7. He's also a Sag Rising, Cameron, who's an astrologer. Really cool. And we were just talking about how us Sag Risings, having Saturn and Jupiter in the 3rd, like, for me personally, I've been, since Saturn rules my 2nd house of money too, and going into my 3rd, I've literally gotten such a big control over like my finances and everything. Like I was like really kind of all scattered and everywhere, but like the 3rd house is like organizing yourself, just getting your shit together is essentially what it is that you're doing. Applying yourself more. As a Sag Rising too, we're so blah all the time. Like I also look at you, AZ Angel, Sag Rising, Moon and Gemini, Venus and Aries, Saturn and Leo. Yeah, we all, me and you both can calm down a little bit, or at least be a little bit serious about, where we're applying ourselves. Saturn and Jupiter in the 3rd, though, also a big change with siblings. You're going to go through your Saturn opposition, too. So this is going to be, if you have siblings, this will be a big change with your siblings. This will be really helpful for communication, for writing. This will be a big time for writing, too. But Mars and Uranus are going to be in your 6th house. This is going to create some maybe difficulty with some health stuff or some employment issues or just day-to-day activities and routines. But Mars in your 6th house, like for me personally, like I'm going to actually try to be healthy for once in my life because it shit's super fucking hard for me. December 30th, because I have an election for it. And I'm trying to do it as Mars goes into Taurus. What I'm personally trying to do as Mars goes through my 6th house is I'm just trying to remain consistent. Like what kind of habits can I get myself embedded in and keep consistent that are easy enough for me to do so I can win. So I think for the Sag Risings with Mars going through your 6th, like set up a routine and set up habits that you can win at. Like set yourself up for success. Like that's the one thing I can't emphasize enough. Set yourself up for success. Stop setting yourself up for failure. But anyway, as it's squaring all that, a lot of your health or your routine, just a lot of your routine might get in the way of what exactly it is that you're trying to organize in your life, but you'll eventually get it. I mean, Saturn and Jupiter are going to be opposite your Saturn, trining this, sextiling that. All looks really good for you. Yeah, is that the only thing? Yeah, that's basically it. And the Mercury's going to retrograde too, so maybe a miscommunication with siblings. Olivia Lux 15, you're next. Come on down. I need to download the Price is Right music so I can play it when I do your guys' charts. One time I got to DJ, One time I got to DJ for Celestial Seasonings, Sleepy Time Tea. Their company is in Boulder, Colorado, and I got to DJ for their company Christmas party one time, and it was really funny. Everyone was really sleepy. No, just kidding. Glendale. See, I always put in the wrong area. The reason I brought up them is because they did this, what's it called? Raffle, and the winners I played when the winners brought up, I played the Price is Right song, and they all thought it was funny. Cool. Cancer Rising. So good news, Cancer Rising. The relationship stuff is over for the last time finally. For you specifically, Olivia Lux, this is not going to be an easy time for you. You're about to start your Saturn square, your Jupiter square. Mars is going to be, Uranus is going on top of that. It's going to be a pretty difficult time for you, honestly, but that's just what 21 is like. It sucks, but it's your Saturn square. It's also your Uranus square, and Uranus is all on top of your shit. Have fun while you can. But for the Cancer Rising, Saturn's going into your 8th. Like, handle your debt, handle your money, handle your business. When it comes to blending resources together, shared resources, death, inheritance, all that stuff, be serious about it. It's something to take seriously. But it's also something too that you need to loosen up about. Saturn, you're going to have your strict way of doing things. You're all Cancer on the front, love, tender and soft on the front, business in the back. Very Cancer Rising. That's Saturn ruling your descendant. You're like, no, relationships can only be for the long run, and we must be together forever. And it has to be by the rules and all of this stuff. Saturn in the 8th house is going to be like, that idea is good, but as you have your Saturn square, you are going to be dealing with more of this is more specific for you, Olivia, but you're going to be more dealing with like relationships, kind of like certain ideas or certain, the rules in which you play the game are going to, come in confrontation with each other. But for all of the Cancer Risings out there, this is just get your shit together. It's not, you're going to be done with relationships. Get your finances together. Do you have a will? Do you have what's going to happen when you die? Like when you have 8th house stuff, like ask 8th house questions, like, what happens after you die? Who owns your stuff? How do you have, the 8th house is a lot of stuff also becoming uncovered. For example, Mars and Uranus are going to conjoin in your 11th house. So there's going to be some issues with friendships and sharing resources with friends. And that's for all the Cancer Risings, but for specifically for you, Olivia. So, if you're blending resources with friends or an individual who's a friend, this might be like a bad deal, and this might be hard to like bring things together. And you might actually have some challenges or some conflicts. It may not end up being friends anymore over it. So that'll be kind of a thing, but at least the Cancer Risings will have a lot easier time in relationships. Now it's just friendships and borrowing and sharing stuff. Next up, hold on. So you guys did so good at posting all of your birth charts right when I needed you to. Next up, we have Princel Patchel. Come on down. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. 7:55 a.m. Okay, stop, bro. There we go. Fuck. Brockville, Ontario. Brockville. What a silly place. Okay. Wow, look at all that Capricorn. So this is for the Capricorn risings. Well, Princel Patchel, I've been trying to tell this for like a lot of people. Like my barber was also born, I think, the December of 91, and his chart is just as fucking crazy as this. And I'm like, dude, you're finally out of it. You're finally done. All that hard work, all of the Capricorn risings, it's done about your image. It's done with your body. But now it's all about the money. It's literally the next little while for you specifically is money, finances, resources, ownership, possession. With Saturn and Jupiter both going into your 2nd house, you're going to be making more money, but you're going to be spending more money too. And you're going to be buying more significant things. You're going to be owning in more items in general. But with Saturn there, it's like, are those bigger purchases? Are they more serious purchases? What are you doing with your money as far as planning goes, as far as plans go, as far as disciplining yourself, budgeting, budget. That's what I would say for you Capricorn risings. And Mars is going to be in Mars is going to be in Taurus. And for you, Princeal Patchel, which is the more I say it, the more I really like saying that name. I mean, you were born with this like moon just leaving Virgo, applying to Venus. Mars is trining Saturn here. Pretty sweet little chart. Mars is going to be in your 5th house, Capricorn risings. Love, sex, creativity. This is going to be a time where, like, you're going to be wanting to pour more energy into the fun stuff. But Mars in Taurus, too, is going to be very much like not wanting to do much unless it's something fun and creative or it's sex. So enjoy that while you can, because I think that is going to be really good. And also, too, now that Saturn's off your ascendant, you don't have to just be so serious. You can be soft again and fun. And Mars is going to be in your 5th. This sounds like fun, sexy times, in my opinion. Super fun. Next person, Getty Life. Getty Life. September 9th, 1988, or 1998? 1988. Whoops. 10:12 a.m. This is for Montebello, California. All right. Sorry, I was reading a meme my friend sent me. There we go. Okay, Scorpio Rising. So, Scorpio Risings. So Saturn and Jupiter are in your 4th now. That's honestly going to be rough. I think specifically for you too. Getty Life. Since Venus rules your 12th house and Venus rules your 7th house of relationships, Saturn and Jupiter are going to be opposite your Venus. So this is going to be a lot about it's going to be a lot about relationships in your career, but living situation. So for all Scorpios, Scorpio Risings, it's going to be Saturn and Jupiter in your 4th house. More rules and restrictions with living situation. More walls and barriers. But Jupiter's in your 4th house. There's more expansion in this area. There's more opportunity in this area. There's more blessings in this area. There's more money being spent in this area. Just a bigger focus on family stuff. And as Saturn goes through your 4th house, you're going to be having problems with your family for the next little while. Whether that's, arguments or distancing. I'm sure you kind of already saw that coming. Saturn in the 4th, you're going to deal with family issues, living situation issues for the next few years, especially if you're a night chart. If you're a day chart, you'll just be taking on more obligations, taking on more responsibilities with the home life. But with Jupiter there, you'll probably be spending more money, probably be being a little bit more creative too with the home. And yeah, your Mars and Uranus are going to be in your 7th house. So in fact, you're probably going to be really consumed with the relationship, and maybe even like you might move in with someone, maybe move in with a partner. But with Mars in the 7th house on top of Uranus, there's this like investing into a relationship, being and that's not just a romantic relationship. That could be a work relationship. That can be a contractor relationship. Mars on top of Uranus, though, that there's a lot of unpredictability with this person. There's a lot of unknowns with this person. And maybe this is also a relationship in the family, in the home, or someone that you live with. A lot of you Scorpio Risings are actually going to have a really interesting year as Saturn and Jupiter in your 4th house. But starting it off with Mars in your 7th, you're going to have more fights and conflicts probably with individuals in January. And things might pop off a little bit easier. You're going to be more invested into a relationship. Shawty's like a melody. Thank you. Oh, Shawty's like a melody. You're a Leo Rising. I can't use your chart. I already did a Leo Rising, but thank you for. I got to say Shawty is like a melody on my live. That's all I wanted. That's all I've ever wanted. Gina Fish 71. You're the next person that I can use because those are all. I haven't done a Libra chart yet. Shawty's like a melody in my head. I saw this one meme one time, and it was Ben Shapiro, and he was like his body position was so funny, and it was like, what if I told you Shawty was like a melody in my head? And I think about it all the time. 1971. Conway, Arkansas. Conway, America. Why is this one Kansas, but this one is Arkansas? Explain. Okay. 9 a.m. I was like, this is not the right chart. Hold on. I put in the wrong chart. 9 p.m. There we go. Libra Rising. Okay. So Libra Risings. 1. No more Saturn and Pluto and Jupiter in your 4th house. Family, living situation stuff finally gets a little bit easier. However, Saturn and Jupiter in your 5th house. Saturn in your 5th house, there's going to be a lot more restriction and rules and discipline around fun, art, music, creativity, drugs, alcohol, fun, children. Saturn going through your 5th house is like, if you're going to do something fun, it's got to be for real. It's got to be serious. You got to create something. It's not just, you're just not going to just be goofing off. Jupiter going through your 5th house too. Unlocking a lot of hobbies. The 5th house is recreation too. So as the moon, as Jupiter and Saturn go into your 5th house, there is more of this focus on like, what kind of hobbies do you have? Like, what do you even do? And there's going to be this bigger focus on creativity, on music, on writing, on just doing more, I think, creatively and not being so, I mean, Libra Rising has kind of had a shitty year. I mean, that's even doubling down for you because you're going to have Jupiter on your Mercury, on your North Node, on your Sun, trining or sextiling, all this stuff. For Libra Risings, Mars is going to be on top of Uranus in your 8th house, though. Investments, shared resources, other people's money, your own money can be kind of wishy-washy. Be careful where you place your money this month in January. I also think, for those Libra Risings that might be buying a house or something, I don't know, or whoever's just still watching, the housing market's going to fucking crash. Like, everything's probably going to crash in January, February. If it didn't, then we're on a fucking sick one and I'd be blown away. But in that case, just be careful about where you're putting your money. If you feel like I would say this is definitely more of a time to pull out since we're at such a high. But I'm also not a financial advisor. I'm just your astrologer. I'm just predicting the future. But as Mars is in your 8th house, you're going to have some unexpected events happen with shared resources and money. So just, be wise around it. Just fucking be smart. Just think about it before you go into stuff. That's the big thing with the Libra Risings. Aquarius Rising Wonderfuloser. Okay. Wonderfuloser. I don't even know how the fuck to say that. June 1st, 2002? Oh my god. 2002, you're so young. 12:53 a.m. in Hoboken. Oh, whoops. I put in. New Jersey. Aquarius Rising. Wow, look at that 5th house stellium right there. Jesus Christ. Okay. So for the Aquarius Risings, Saturn in your 12th house. I remember when I had Saturn go through my 12th house and I fucking hated it. I felt like it was like all of these walls were getting in my way and I had no idea where they were coming from. Like the 12th house is repressed, unacknowledged parts of yourself, hidden things. It's a blinding house, so you can't always see what's going on in there. As Saturn moves from your 12th to your 1st, it's right in front of you. The wall, the barrier, the responsibility, the obligation. When Saturn went over my ascendant and Saturn went through my 1st house, I just got really serious. And as Saturn goes through your 1st house, this is a time where you take yourself more seriously, especially you, Wonderfuloser. I mean, you're going through you're just going to start having your Saturn trine. Like things are about to be like really picked up for you. Saturn is your malefic. You're a night chart, so there is going to be a lot of more responsibilities, and like you're not going to be as fun as maybe you used to be. But this is definitely going to make you be more serious about about your art, your music, your creative life that you're so influenced by. Clearly. But for the Aquarius Risings, Mars and Uranus is going to be on top of in your 4th house of home, of family life, of living situation. So you are going to be dealing with fights and conflicts and unexpected problems, unexpected instability within the home and within the family. So, and as it's squaring everything on your ascendant, this could definitely be one of those situations where all of this new stuff that you're doing could really cause some tensions with family and living situation. It's just a part of it. Scorpio Risings are going to be going through the same thing, basically. But as Mars is squaring your ascendant and everything, just it's going to be easy to get frustrated with things very easily. My advice would just to be like, again, be flexible and not be super, rigid or hardcore. But the Aquarius risings, I mean, Saturn's just going on your ascendant. It's time to get real. Let's see here. Who else do we got? How many? All right, Brim Britain. That's kind of hard to say. Brim Britain's a Taurus rising. How many? So what have we done? We'll do Taurus rising now, Gemini. We've done Cancer. We've done Leo. We haven't done Virgo. We've done Libra. We've done Scorpio, Sag, Capricorn, Aquarius. So I need Pisces and Virgo and Aries. I need Aries too. Someone give me your charts that are like that. Well, I'll just keep scrolling and see. Brim Britain. Oh, Brim Britain. Where were you born? I just see August 17th, 1997. I need a location. Brim Britain, where were you born? Quick. Akron, Ohio. Akron, Ohio. Akron, Ohio. Remember that, Cameron. Akron, Ohio. 11:57 p.m. in Akron, Ohio. Oh, crap. Shit. We're going to do that one again. Thank you guys so much for joining my live. I love you guys so much. The fact that I can just sit here and talk astrology and that there's... How many of you? This says 45 of you. Thank you for being here. I love you. I love you. I love you. I think of that Elf. Elf is like my favorite Christmas movie. I quote it all the time. And I'm here with my dad, and I love you. I love you. I love you. So, all right, Taurus risings. Saturn and Jupiter in the 10th. What are you waiting for? I mean, I know so many Taurus risings that were have been in school or traveling and just all this ninth house stuff of just really hard education, really hard experiences. Now that Saturn and Jupiter is going to your 10th house, it's time to put it to the test. What are you doing? Saturn on the midheaven, you're going to be taking on more responsibility with work. Probably, especially if you have a Saturn and Aquarius too, if you're a Taurus rising, you're probably going to be getting some type of promotion. You're probably going to be getting some type of serious, raise or some type of leadership role in your line of work. But for all the Taurus rising, Saturn and Jupiter in the 10th, work, more responsibility, more opportunity, start a business. This is a great time to start a business if you want to be an entrepreneur, and especially if you're a day chart and you've got Jupiter on the midheaven. Jupiter on the midheaven is super great for you day chart Taurus risings. So that's the big new thing, just big new stuff with work. You guys should know that by now. But you will be having Mars and Uranus in Taurus squaring everything. So it's going to be easy for you to get really frustrated. With Mars in your first house, it's going to be easy for you to get mad, for you to get angry. On top of Uranus too, it's going to be easy for you just to kind of pop off, unknowingly. When we go back to 2020 and Mars is retrograde in your 12th house, all of that anger and that frustration that was kind of on the back burner for a while is finally actually going to start to come up. So, try to just not lose your cool, because if you do, it's going to be very public and it's not going to be cute. Not a lot of people will like it. So I would just try to find really healthy outlets for anger, for expression, for all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, you're getting a whole lot of new work coming in, so get ready to be really fucking busy and get ready for a lot of new stuff. So I saw that you guys said, hold on, I got a Pisces rising right here. I'm still scrolling to go through everything. Oh, thank you for the tips. Also, by the way, I haven't said anything about donations. I just got a donation. It didn't come up here, but if you guys want to donate, that would be super cool too, and I would love you forever. So thank you for the donation, Adrian. I think that's how you say it because it didn't come up here. But anyway, yeah, go ahead, donate. The next person I did get, this is gonna be. Hold on, I fucked up. Where am I at? Siren King, Virgo Rising. I'll do you since I saw your comment. Siren King, King of the Sirens. 1994. Badek. Oh, that's time. Damn it, I fucking do that all the time. 7:45 p.m. 7:45 p.m. p.m. Where is this at? Badek, Canada. Virgo Risings. So, Saturn and Jupiter in the 6th house. You're about to have your Saturn return. Saturn and Jupiter about to conjoin your Sun, your Venus, your Mercury. You're about to start your Saturn return coming up here. Virgo Risings. Biggest issue, work. Your habits, your routine, and your health. What is getting in the way? What is stagnating? What needs to change? And as Jupiter goes into your 6th, there's going to be more work. There's going to be more opportunity. You're going to be doing more things. So Saturn and Jupiter go into your 6th house. The big kind of thing is like, okay, how do you get more done and how do you discipline yourself by doing more? But you're a night chart. So specifically like night chart Virgo rising people, there's going to be kind of like, how do you get more done without having all of the opportunity? Because like Saturn in the 6th house is very like walls getting in your way, barriers getting in your way, time getting in your way. And as Jupiter conjoins, or at least Jupiter goes into your 6th house, this is like, how do you do more with less? How do you make things, work a little bit more in your favor dealing with what you have? It's not going to be like Jupiter and Saturn in your 5th house where it was very like, you don't got shit and you got to make something, you got to make this little tiny shit look great. Saturn and Jupiter in your 6th is so much more like, okay, it's going cadent, it's so much more about just what are you doing every single day, getting your fucking shit together, being more responsible, and keeping that energy fixed, keeping that energy, stable. I think one of the only more challenging things though is while everything in your 6th house is about work, routine, health, Mars is going to be in your 9th house, conjoining Uranus, where Mars is going to cause some fights or conflicts or some changes when it comes to your spirituality, your beliefs, your higher education. And it's going to be coming in conflict with all of the 6th house stuff. So like maybe what you're doing spiritually or what you're doing with traveling or your education is going to somehow come into disagreement or come into conflict with your work, your habits, your day-to-day routine. There's going to be some type of, mitigation you're going to have to work around. There's going to be some type of, I don't want to say challenge to overcome, but this looks just more like an annoying obstacle than so much of a challenge. But yeah, I think this is really just going to be about like, how do you handle for you specifically, it's a night chart. So this is going to be difficulty with your habits and your health. But maybe exploring more. Mars in the 9th would be doing things more holistically. Exploring more in your spirituality and your faith might unlock some, might kind of get the airflow moving in your 6th house is a good way to look at it. But yeah, let's go to Pisces rising. Hold on. I thought I saw someone say Pisces rising here. Give me a second. Moon and fall. Okay, hold on. Let me get you. There we go. We're gonna get Pisces. There you go. Moon and fall. It's asking you to be a pro subscriber. I don't know what that's about. I've never heard of that. That might be on you. 16th, 1996th, 1996th, 6:55 p.m. And are we really doing the Pisces rising for last? That's so funny. Buenos Aires. Argentina's having that eclipse right now too. Pisces risings. Oh, your chart looks fun. Oh, your chart's really fun. So Pisces risings. Saturn and Jupiter conjoining in your 12th. You're going to be kind of going MIA for a minute. You're going to be kind of doing more stuff alone, doing more stuff by yourself, being more private, being more isolated. I've read for you before. I've read for you before? Okay. Anyway, with Saturn and Jupiter going into your 12th house, you're just going to be more private, more alone, more isolated, but also like bringing up a lot more stuff that you're used to, repressing or not acknowledging or putting on the back burner. This is going to be a good time to really like sort things out in your head. This is going to be a good time to just take some alone time out and just really work through some issues that it's easy for you to avoid. And I know you're a Pisces rising, so you're probably avoiding listening to me even say this right now. But this is definitely just like, in this moment of being more private, just kind of working through certain solutions. Mars is going to be in your 3rd house too, where Mars in your 3rd house is like, so for example, Mars in the 3rd house, when I was in my 12th house year, my perfection year, I got in a lot of prison documentaries, and I was learning about how they do tattoos in prison. And like, do you know how they do tattoos in prison? Like, it is very much like, basically what they do is like, for one, like, they don't even get like a needle. Like, a lot of the times it'll be like a piece of metal that they actually just scrape in them, or a piece of plastic sometimes too that they could scrape in there. But what they do is they'll just basically liquidize rubber. Like, they'll take rubber off their shoe, melt it, put it on this needle, and then scrape you. And the reason I'm bringing that up is like Mars and Taurus in the 3rd house is very much like, you gotta figure out if you're in prison and you want a tattoo, like, that's the way you're gonna get a tattoo. You're in Saturn and Jupiter in your 12th house and Mars is in your 3rd. If you're gonna want to get something done, you're gonna have to realize it's not gonna be as easy as you might plan it to be. It's gonna take a lot more work. I watched this YouTuber named Wes Watson. Some of you guys might watch him. He's a guy who actually went to prison, came out. He's like got a really inspiring story. But he talks a lot about how how he learned about like training and tracking macros in prison, and he had a phone, and he talks about how like in order to Google something in prison, like it's not like you can just pull it out and Google stuff. Like, you have to wait for the right time, have people hiding you, look at where the cameras are at, and check where the guards are at, just to Google one thing for like 30 seconds and then put it away. Like, there's so much more work involved just to get these smaller things, and I think that's what a lot of Mars in Taurus is going to feel like. But with Mars on top of Uranus in your 3rd house, this is just going to be about innovating, being innovative with how you get things done. It's not going to be easy, but look at the prison tattoos. You know what I mean? They get it done. It ain't easy, it ain't pretty, but they fucking get that shit done. And that's really what January is going to be like, being a little bit more alone and isolated, just working with what you have, dealing with what you can. Thank you for all of the PayPals. I just got all of my donations. Thank you guys for the donations. And that's that's January. I'm trying to think of everything else. Look, 2020 sucked. 2021 is a weird start. I think 2021 is at least January is just kind of like, January is an interesting start. The second half of January, though, gets crazy. And then February is just off the fucking chain. And I swear to God, I did like 4 of my year ahead horoscopes, and I still have the rest of them to do. I'm going to get them done. I swear to God. I fucking hate recording horoscopes like 12 in a row. You guys have no idea how much energy that takes. Well, some of you do, because some of you guys are astrologers, but I will eventually get them done. I know I've been saying that for like a month now. But with that being said, I think that's what I got for it. So again, if you guys do want to make any of the last minute donations, I would appreciate it, and I love you guys. So with that being said, I'll see you guys next month.